Hello friends. So video today is going to be a little bit different. I've heard a lot of talk about talents and blueprints and basically like whether placement talents actually affect blueprints. I had heard when the game launched that that was no longer a thing that was happening. Before there was this whole thing with the VR and whatever. But now I've heard that maybe it is still happening. So I did some preliminary testing earlier and I found that it did actually seem to be working in some circumstances. And so I wanted to actually gather some data on it. And since I wanted to gather some data, I figured, why don't I make a video out of it? And if anyone wants to check the video to see my results, if you want to then try and replicate them or iterate off of them to slightly change the experiment, whatever, feel free. Either way, hopefully this is some useful data. So basically what I did was I put together this test ship that's literally just an engine of each type, fuel tank of each type, hover, vert booster, container, each type of brake, and one little adjuster. Just enough that I can actually come in here and take a look at all of the different things and see what it says. So I've set this up to list in newtons because that's really what I want to see rather than G's in particular. And here we've got the fuel manager, so this tells me the capacity and the autonomy with each type of fuel. I didn't do rockets because I don't have a rocket booster right now. I'm not done training those skills yet. And here, the mass. So here we can see it's got 4 tons of fuel. Basically, I just filled up the containers with their default levels. So there's 400 liters of nitron and 400 liters of Kurgan. That's it. And here, I'm wondering if you can actually see the adjuster. Yes. Okay, here we are. Perfect. So pitch down, 28 kilonewtons. Kilonewton meters? I don't actually know what that measure is. Anyways, I should probably figure that out at some point. Okay, so basically these are my numbers. So I want to take these down. So right now, I think what I might do is just grab these in screenshot form and put them in an Excel document, and then I will extract out the actual numbers later, because typing out all of these numbers is going to be a little bit of a pain to do that on screen. So, one of these engines isn't perfectly aligned. Look at that. Got 362 kilonewtons in one direction and 779 newtons to the left, and 851 kilonewtons up. So, this guy here is not perfectly aligned. Interesting. That's what happens when you just slap stuff together. Okay, so for now, I am going to just grab that, and I'm going to fire up paint, which you guys won't be able to see because I'm not capturing that window, but that's okay. And just extract out this information, and then I'm going to hop over to Excel, and this is going to be base ship, no buffs, or almost no buffs. Technically, this character does have the teeniest, tiniest of buffs. Can I put this in a cell? No. Okay, that's fine. This thing's gonna explode. That's okay. Yes, so this character does have one buff, which is the space element handling 1. So that will apply to space engines and vertical boosters. So, hang on, let me actually show you that. Let me go over to the Excel here and show you. So it's space element handling 1. That's literally all she has. She has a few piloting skills, but that's the only placement skill. So now if we flip back over to the Excel, if I flip back over to the Excel as well, and take a look here, so we'll see the space engine is 633 kilonewtons on the engine, and the up is 551 kilonewtons. I might need to expand the low altitude lift. Hang on, let me see here. Low altitude lift. Yes, just for good measure, I'm going to expand that out. I will copy that over in a second. just going to delete that, and we're going to paste the full version. So you see here, I've got the hover engine and vertical boosters. Now I did that because specifically the vertical boosters will have my little teeny tiny bit of buff here, but the hover engines won't. Okay. Okie dokie. Smoky. So that covers that. So this is the basic ship. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to my buff character, and I'm going to buff this ship. And then we're going to take a look at the stats there. So we have the base ship, and we'll have the buffed ship. Just gonna, oh, you know, actually I don't need to bother with the blur. I'll just leave Excel up so you can't see it. Yeah. All right. Now we'll flip back over to DU. So you can actually see what I'm doing rather than just looking at a big spreadsheet. Hopefully DU doesn't crash. DU crashed. Yep. Easy anti-cheat killed it. Cool. 1 second. Minimize all this random crap I got open. Let's try this again. I will use the blur this time. Okay, so take a look at Excel here. So yeah, you can see I have 400 liters each in the fuel tanks. My overall fuel weight is 4 tons. Max thrust Atmo is 362. Space is 633. So let's flip over, boost the ship. And then I'm going to actually switch back to the other character before I check it, because the talents on this character is not really what I want to see for the flying talents, because this character also has a lot of flight talents, obviously. So I want to compare apples to apples, so to speak. So I'm going to do that. Before I log off, though, what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to rename this construct. So this is test. I'm just going to call it test 1. Why not? And here I'm going to take a core blueprint. So now, oh, I'm linked to the wrong container. Hang on. You set as link container. You test 1. Drop it in there. So that's test 1. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to VR right back here. I'm going to VR from my Raken to my Raken. I'm going to take one in VR, so that will be test 2. And then I'm also going to go and take one on the other character. So those will be the 3 blueprints that I'm working from, basically. Oh, hang on. Sorry, that was the new one. That was the new test 1. I don't want that. I want them to be distinguishable. So this will be test 2. And we'll create a core blueprint. So now we have test 1 and test 2. And then I'm going to rename it right now before I forget again. And then before I look at it, we're going to switch back. So we're going to log out. I'm going to blur. Switch to the alt. Don't die, don't die, don't die. It didn't die. Yay. Turn that blur off. All right. Now, what do we have? Right, it closes everything. Okay, so spaceflight engineer, Atmo flight engineer. We're going to need the the low altitude lift and the max thrust. Here, we're going to need the max thrust. We need the fuel capacity and autonomy, so we can see all the things. So now you see there's 800 liters apiece, and 35 minutes for Atmo, 19 minutes for space. Construct information, so we got the mass is 22.6 tons, so 4 tons of that was fuel. I believe it was 8 before. Axis rotations, let's take a look at our torque. We've got 37.8 kilonewton meters, whereas it used to be 28, according to the spreadsheet. Spaceflight Engineer was 633, is now 994. Atmo was 362, is now 579. Hovers was 480, or sorry, is 480, was 300. Vertical boosters was 551 and is 864. So that sort of gives you a rundown of what it looks like when you get those boosts. So I'm going to save this again, make sure that I have all 5 windows open. I do. Okay. So we're going to cut and paste that in. Oh, hang on. Make sure I got the whole thing. We're going to flip over to Excel. And we will say buffed ship. And drag that down. Oh, okay, let's zoom this out a little bit. You get down here. And just for clarity's sake, nope, I'm back on the wrong character. So, yeah, the one I was on before was Core. She does have maxed out placement skills, as far as I'm aware. As I said before, I don't think I have rockets yet. But all the containers, fuel tanks, engines, adjusters, the whole kit and caboodle. So now we have that. I'm also going to take a test 3 blueprint. So now I should have test 1, 2, and 3. So basically now, oops, sorry, I'm showing the wrong window again. So now I have test 1, 2, and 3. So 1 is, oh, let me write this down actually. Excel. Okay, so test 1 is, I might need to review this. I did it not in VR first. Yeah, okay. Full talent character, not in VR. And test 2 was a full talent character in VR. And test 3 was a 1 talent character. I don't have any no talent characters, but or at least not here. The only one I have is off on Talmai. So what I don't have here is a 0 talent character. My testing earlier seemed to imply that a 0 talent character and a VR character worked the same, because VR basically just removes all of your talents. So I'm going to work on the assumption that that's the case here. If someone wants to actually test that and verify, feel free. But either way, that level of specificity isn't necessarily the point of the video, as long as we can show the talents carrying forward in some circumstances. I don't necessarily need to prove all of the circumstances. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to pull the fuel out. And we're going to tear the ship down. Brakes. I wasn't paying attention to brakes. Well, they should have been in the video, so hopefully they're there. Once again, I'm showing the wrong window. Gotta get better at that. Okay. Pull the core. Often says action forbidden the first time you try and take a core. I don't know why that is. Okay, so brakes. Let's look at this Excel again. So brakes, no buffs, atmospheric flight, brake force was 600. Space was 780 with the buff. Brake was 960 for Atmo, and space was 1.25 meganewtons. So, yep, it was indeed there. So we're good. Okay, so back to DU. So my understanding is it shouldn't matter who deploys it. So I'm going to try deploying it with my one skill character. Just because I figure my full skill character will probably end up overwriting it with whatever she has. Maybe? I'm not sure. But let's check it out. So test 1, we're going to create a blueprint. Test 1 was the full skill character, not in VR. So this was made by someone who has all of the boosts herself. So, oh, crud. Come on. Was not prepared for that. Not bored? Okay, we're okay. We're back. That was a bit exciting. Okay, so, nope, I didn't fill that up yet. This is the space fuel, so Kurgan. Making me wish I had the refuel tool talents on this character. Ding. Okay. Build mode. So here we have a bunch of stuff that I do not remember what any of it means. So we're going to take a screenshot of it. We're going to paste it here. I'm going to get it out of here. We're going to go to Excel and we're going to say test 1 deploy, 1 skill alts, not in VR. Okay, now let's take a quick look at these guys. So, oh, okay, so that's interesting. I could swear this contradicts what I saw earlier. So fuel tank capacity is still down. Hang on, let me just check and make sure I got the screenshot right. I did, okay. So yeah, the fuel tank capacity is still down. Engines are worse, like Atmo engines are worse, space engines are worse. Hover engines 480 to 300, verts 864 to 551. Fuel mass is still 4 tons either way. That's weird, actually. That shouldn't be 4 tons up here, because the fuel mass should be cut in half from the container proficiency talents. Probably need to change what's in there after that gets the boost to make that really show up. I'll bet you if I'd pulled some fuel out and put it back in, that probably would have made it register. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. Point is, nothing came through. Which I swear is the opposite of what I had happen earlier. So, let's check out test number 2. Ah, I've been hearing about this bug. It's the first time I've seen it. So I took out all the fuel, but it still says it has fuel in it. Looks like this video is going to be multi-purpose. Here you go. Refueled it and unfueled it 3 times, and it worked. Bit of a pain, but got the job done. Alright, time for test 2. Let's try not to explode this time. Alright, so I'm going to drop you here. And I'm going to jump. Ah, 800. So already I can see some of the boosts did take this time. Okay, so we have 576, 994, hover engines 480 and 864. This is looking correct. Let's get the numbers actually in place and go over it to be sure. So copy this out. I'm gonna fire up Excel and we're gonna say test2 deploy. One skill alt, not in VR. I'm gonna paste that here, which is gonna stick it way up there because it always sticks it way up there. Because Excel is useless sometimes. Okie dokie. So here we are. We have this. So 360 went up to 576. 300 went up to 480. 551 went up to 864. Brake force went from 600 to 960. Space 633 to 994. This is all looking very promising, so I think this worked. Also, the fuel weight is only 2 tons instead of 4 tons. So that's correct. That's what we should be seeing. Yeah, this looks great. So that seems to carry forward, and that was the one that I made in VR. Which seems to lend credence to the fact that maybe that is what's needed. So weird, because I swear that's not what happened earlier, to the point where I'm going to keep this going and we're going to test this out. So but the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check test 3. Oh, you know what? Earlier, when I did that first deploy, I was on a 0 skill character. I might try deploying test 1 in VR. I didn't level up that character's skill until after I did that first test. So maybe that's what happened. Okay, anyways. So this here is test 3. So we're going to equip that, drop it, jump. We're drifting, we're drifting, we're drifting. Stop it, stop it, stop it. So look at that, the 800s came through. So that's interesting. Because this was also made not in VR. Test 3 was made not in VR, and it was made by a character who did have some space talents. So here, I'm going to grab a screenshot of this. Let's plop her over and compare. So I'm going to get all those numbers down. Switch back over to Excel. This is test 3 deploy. One skill alt, not in VR. I feel like that's not exactly how I typed that before, but it will do. Alright. Excel, I know this isn't what you're built for, but you could be a little friendlier. Okay. So, fuel tanks. Capacity carried over. Mass also carried over. So the fuel tank mass reduction worked. The fuel tank size worked. I haven't been checking the container volume, which I probably should have done. But anyways, so here, interestingly, not surprisingly, but interestingly, max thrust for atmospheric engines did carry over. For space engines, it did not. Because this character has that one space engine talent that covers both space engines and vertical boosters. So let's check vertical boosters. Buffed is 864. Mine are only 551. Yep, but hover engines buffed is 480, whereas not buffed is, or this one is also 480. So yeah, it looks like making it on the character who had that one skill in spaceflight actually triggered it to take that skill for everything that it applied to, and everything else carried over as it was in the blueprint. But interestingly, my talented character didn't. But yes, like I said, last time I actually deployed it from a character who had 0 talents. So just for fun, I'm going to try that. We're going to see what happens. Also, obviously, I'm only doing like actual flight skills, not like PvP skills or anything like that. So if that's what you care about, your mileage may vary. VR. No, test 1 is what I wanted to do. So we create blueprint. Oh, forgot to jump. Okay. Interestingly, only 400. So I think it didn't work again. Oh, I forgot. I'm showing Excel again. Sorry, my dear viewers. I am not used to flipping back and forth between windows on what I'm showing and not. Okay. Of course, I only noticed right before I'm about to switch back to Excel again. So this was test 1. So you can see, oh, goodness gracious. So you can see here, it's test 1. Right up there, that way. So this one is the one that was made not in VR by my talented character. And this is all looking pretty bad. So I think that this confirms that you do actually need to be in VR for it to carry over. Which again, it's odd because I didn't think that's what I had seen earlier, but it does seem to be. So test 1 deploy, 1 skill alt in VR. Can I like paste it here? Paste. No. It's going to put it right back up at the top. I'm going to have to drag it all the way down again. Should have just made a new sheet for each of these. That would have been smart, but it's okay. It's too late now. Okay, so that pretty much settles that. So it looks like if you make it in VR, it does carry through. I'm going to end the video. I'm going to do another test of that, though, the making it not in VR on my talented character, and then reprinting it, because I'm just suspicious, you know? Feels like it should have been different than that. Although, interestingly, buffed is 994. My 1 talent character is 633. It actually lost, when I deployed the blueprint, it actually didn't even get my own placement skill for the space engine. Oh, I guess that's because I was in VR. So yeah, it really just didn't have anything. But it did get that when I wasn't in VR. So you do get, the buffs do carry through from your current character. Like, they do apply from your current character when you're deploying. Presumably, if better. Definitely if better, because here they were better in the blueprint and it carried through. So yeah, so it looks like the old trick of go into VR, create the blueprint, and then when you print from the blueprint, it should actually have the talents. It does, in fact, still work. I doubt that that's intended behavior. I'm going to raise this and see what they say. But for now, at least, it looks like you can, in fact, make blueprints with talents applied on them. So again, I didn't do any PvP stuff here because I don't have the talents for that to test it myself. But at least for your flight mechanics, it looks like it's legit. So that's the conclusion. I'm going to write up these numbers and put them in a Google Doc at some point and actually link it in the video. But for now, you saw it here. Go into VR, create your blueprint, get your talents. All right. Hope this was helpful. Have a good one.